Say,
yeah.
There we go.
All right. I could have done that last week.
Right.
Oh, well, here we are. That's pretty cool. So another episode. I think this is number 6. Pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're going to start off as usual with a mantra from Trevor Hall. I'm going to share my screen and share the music. Hopefully I can find it here. Let me just shut down. Yeah. Okay. Just 1 second.
Yeah, it's a DOS Ball song by Trevor Hall. He's the one singing it.
All right. For some reason I have to shut down Soulogy. Why is it not letting me share? Okay, I'm going to open it. There it is. Share sound. Okay, here we go. And this is Makida playing. Tell me if you can hear it.
Nachicho gaicho Mother call, call to mother, oh my mad mind. Machaya torke ache. Who else is there in this world besides mother? Makedak, 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 korehan. Ami mal, tu mi mal. I am mothers, you are mothers. Maya ma, ma to ma. Mother is mine, mother is yours. Maya te sokoli acho. In this world of illusion, Bujaya bojo namo. My mind understands, but I cannot comprehend. Edin chulia jabe, shokari bori alabe. One day, all of this will vanish. Who else will you be able to call your own? Nothing lasts. Makedak, 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 ulimon. Call to mother, call to mother, call to mother, oh my mad mind. Mayeri shong share, nachicho gaicho. In this world of illusion, everyone is singing and dancing. Moner shuge to me, pataki na karicho. Busying their minds with useless things. Edin cholia jabe, shokari pori alabe. One day, all of this will vanish. Keho nahi habetor. Who will you be able to call your own? Therefore, Makedak, 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 Urimon. Makedak, 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 Urimon. Yes, scholars up here.
Oops, we shut that down.
Yeah, that I sing that nightly at work,
Do you really?
and the transmutation of the energy just from these mantras like that. When I sing them, it's like I'll listen to them in my ear and I'll be singing them. And people are looking at me like, what the hell is this girl doing over here? But then all of a sudden, like it'll be super tense and dense and negative, and all of a sudden it's like transmuted. Everyone's laughing and playing and happy. You know what I mean?
Amazing.
And then they'll
I
move
do.
me to another one. They'll move me down, and then I'll do the same thing. And then the energy will transmute. You know what I mean? And it's almost like I take that and then I don't hold on to it and it doesn't affect me. It just clears. And then there's something with the words and my vocals that like transmute this stuff.
Wow.
But like I've seen like real tangible evidence like of this stuff happening. Like whereas before, like I knew there's something with my voice and something with these mantras, but I wasn't like positive. I wasn't like convinced myself until like, coming to this job and like getting past my own fear and shame and actually just singing in public and not caring.
That's awesome.
Not caring about, you know, anybody's opinions, like just doing it. And And it's funny because like the people around me will start singing their own songs. Like the first time I did it, there was this lady behind me. She started singing "Are You Happy and You Know It?" Like
Really?
that song. Yeah. Like, and it's like, it's crazy when these things happen. It's like synchronicity all around you and you can feel it. You know what I mean?
I do. Not in that same situation, but that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really, I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. That was a
Yeah.
longer one, but I think it was important to listen to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Definitely
sure.
helped me shift a little. I had some crunchy energy coming
Yeah.
in here. Just
Mhm.
kind of a lot of stuff going on. I think for you, for me, for a lot of people.
I did a little bit of energy work too.
Did you?
All that was going, yeah, just to like get the energy right. Kind of prayed.
Yeah, I was reflecting on the concept of mother a little bit while that was playing, and something that happened this week with this mother that I used to know. I don't know if you want me to go into that. I
Yeah.
didn't. Yeah, so yeah, it kind of came up while that was playing, and I wanted to share it as we were kind of just conversing and sharing what's been potent for us over the course of the week. I was out running, and when I was very active in like AA and that 12-step program, I had this friend that I don't know how to describe her, but she had lost custody of her children, and she had, was a heroin addict and really was never quite able to get over that loss of custody. And she was on a large number of pharmaceuticals, and a lot of people in the program were very judgmental of her. It's because sometimes she'd come into meetings and she'd be a little out of it, and people thought she was nodding off. And I had the chance to get to know her better, and I remember going to her house and seeing her pill sorter
Oh,
and
wow.
and I think that she was really trying her best. I mean, there was a lot involved in her life, and I'm not going to go into detail, but this other gentleman that I was close with, and I were really close friends with her, and we could see that she was really struggling to hang on to this lifetime. And she ended up passing. She was like, I think she was 42, and my other friend found her, dead in her apartment. And it was nobody was surprised. And I remember feeling like there was something that was missed in our perception of her, and she took her role as mother so seriously once she got sober, but she couldn't quite um, integrate the energies, I guess would be the best way to say it. And so I was out running, and where she lived for a while, I was on my course. And so I turned the corner, and she lived up this big hill. So I turned the corner to go up this big hill. The minute I turned the corner, this song came on. It was called Angels Above Us. I think it's Stick Figure. I love the song so much. Turn the corner, that song comes on. I'm going up by her, like right by her house, and I could just feel like I could tap in with her from time to time and feel her energy and her presence and her encouragement, because I felt a lot of synchronicities with her. I lost custody of a child, and went into pretty hardcore addiction. So, and there was another gentleman that up at the top of the same hill on the same beautiful road by this farm that had also tapped out pretty early, drank himself to death, and I could just feel their energies. And so it was a beautiful run. And I got home, and I wanted to remember the date that she died, and it was that date. It was
Wow.
Monday. It was October 2nd that she had passed, and it's been 10 years.
Wow.
So, and just that, I just
Wow.
felt so much for her wanting to be this, the mother energy that she had, and just, yeah. So that was pretty cool that day. Yeah. I think energetically I was very in a I want to say a high frequency for a lot of the day, but as usual, it fluctuates. So
Right. Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
but yeah, so I
So
know you're dealing with some intense stuff right now. What did you want to share about your
I was
journey
just
this
gonna
week?
say a little bit about like Trevor Hall and like
Please.
how with the mother piece, like Kali Ma is a big figure, like the goddess Kali Ma in his practice. So that like that was kind of tribute to that mother. But I see that mother Kali Ma and all of Mother Earth, goddess, mother energy, like mother, father, God. I see God or creator as more of the mother than like a father
Yeah.
because the mother creates, you know, and it's our creator. It's feminine. So like when initially when you look at Kali Ma, it would look dark to a Westerner because she's holding a severed
Right.
head.
And
You know, she's
that's
got the skulls and it's about her conquering the darkness though. It's not about like death and destruction like a Westerner might see, but it's about her being able to fight the evil, the demons, you know, her being with you and being part of you and within you. And because it's an aspect rather than like a being. You know what I mean?
I do, and that makes so much sense with this woman that I'm talking about, like her, yeah, like
Yeah. And also about the woman, like I've known so many people in the program with very similar, you know, issues and not being able to let go. And it all stems from their own trauma.
right.
It's
She's
almost
lots
like,
of trauma. Yeah.
yeah, it's their karma to like move through that stuff and then drop the misconceptions or the conceptions about these things like motherhood and to be able to just accept, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like the things the way they are, which you know this already.
I do.
But
It's been a
it's
challenge, but yes.
that's a beautiful story though. And like
Yeah.
I
Thank you. Yeah.
know so many people like that, you know?
Yeah. And the other, yeah, it was like I jotted down in my notes about her, like trauma and pharma. Like
Oh yeah.
she was just, they just
Right.
dumped pharmaceuticals onto her. And I see that happening with a lot, a lot of people at some point in the recovery. And, even my daughter, who struggles with alcohol addiction, just they put them on pharma and like she couldn't get that like authentic sense of herself. And I'm not, I think it's needed and sort of no judgment about that, but I could see in her case, she just went from, the addiction to another, these pills kind of just supporting her, and inside she was really kind of dying. So,
Yeah.
but the
And
collie,
that's
wow.
pushed. Like that's a big piece with pharma, especially nowadays. They're like literally pushing the whole trans agenda, and that's all about pharmaceuticals too. So
Yeah.
you're a forever customer for the pharmaceutical company now that you're on. You have to have these to maintain your sex, you know, and the surgeries are just ungodly
Oh
amounts,
man.
you know. So it's like, and it's messes with your body. And like I've thought a lot about this, and I feel very called to like talk about it because of like my experience with it. But at the same time, I was never able to be that programmed. And that was like my whole thing. I was depressed because I knew truth and I wasn't able to conform ever. But I started to, you know, and so these people they're completely
They're getting
misled.
hijacked. Their
Yeah,
their truth is getting hijacked.
absolutely. Yeah.
And it's like almost like creating a false, like a robotic, like you're giving away. I always see it. Yeah. It's like you're giving away that beautiful sacred energy that we have
Right.
as humans, divine, and giving it over to the managed by these like this external.
Yeah, it's almost like a demonic entity.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, like the karma of a situation like that is to accept yourself for who you are and to know that you're not the body. You're the spirit within the body. Like that's our karma and what we're supposed to be learning. But it's being hijacked, and they're giving you, oh, you feel like this because you're this from
Right.
small age. You know what I mean? From like 6 years old now, they're coming at these people, and it's so normalized, and it's the fad. So everybody wants to be it, and everybody's accepting it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. This woman, she actually ended up in like, she connected with spirit. She was very, it's like
Really?
it's like, yeah. And she was very much into the local, and she'd go to like tribal dances and
Like Native American
Native
powwow.
American powwows. I mean, so it was like she had that piece, and I didn't even, she really opened my eyes to that. And she went to this church, Unity Church, where it's very non-denominational, and she was very much into metaphysical stuff before I had any real understanding of it. And so I feel her presence, as we're talking, that, that I, just to honor her and to say, so much gratitude for her showing me. Like, I just felt like she didn't have a chance almost, just
Right.
but she knew that was her, that she was going to have to accept that. And I just think that because of all the variables that were happening for her, and she couldn't. So it's given me an example that no matter what is happening for me, you know, what habits I have, because I'm certainly not perfect, but and the challenges I've had not being a custodial parent to this day, even though my son's in his almost 30 or over 30, just knowing the depth of pain that can bring you into, and as we've talked about with losing your kid. And anyways, not sure where I'm going with that, but all
Yeah,
these
no,
things are coming up. So yeah, grateful to Lisa Bedard for showing up here and teaching me some stuff.
she's definitely part of your guidance system then.
Yeah, yeah, I would say so. She and this other gentleman that passed too. I definitely feel them. It's like same kind of story. He lost custody of his son, and it just rips a hole right through your heart. It's so insidious. It plays into every like every
Yeah,
yeah,
every aspect of the
every
trauma. Yeah,
every aspect.
for sure. I remember when my son was taken from me.
So you've had that, yeah, we
Yeah,
talked about this a little bit last time, I think. So
yeah. So I was the first time that people were ever called was because his father had like pushed me, and Evan's head hit the door. I had him in my arms. And that time it was unfounded on my part, but he had a case. I ended up going back. This happened a year later. I went back to him, and while we were in the car with him, he decided to do his deal with his guy while we were in the car. And I ended up being pulled into it, even though I wasn't really using at that point. Like, obviously, I was an addict at that point, but I
right,
was active in it. So he ended up, or he ended up doing it right in front of a cop that was investigating a robbery at the Beefaroo. It was in front of, they were parked where you're not supposed to be parked. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So obvious.
red
And
flag.
yeah, and his car was a brand new car, and the dealer's car was an old car. So he ended up looking like the dealer. So the cop went after him, like he was going to be the guy with all the drugs.
The big hit,
Right. And then he
arrest.
found like a young kid with his girlfriend and baby. And
Oh,
he threw the drugs at me to hide and get rid of. And I didn't know what I was doing. So like I was so clueless. I'm like, call my grandmother to take my son. Here's the drugs. Like, because I'm not like, you know what I mean? And so I ended up getting charged with that. And I went to jail, but like I prayed, and this was all divine. Like it was supposed to happen like that. I was supposed to get away from him. Evan was supposed to spend that time with my grandmother. I was supposed to spend that time alone in jail for 3 months. And it was in 2012 when this happened. And I went to
Really?
jail. And yeah, I was shaken awake, like spiritually. Like all I was left with was a Bible to read. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
even though it was King James version, like that was what I had known. So I read that thing front to back. And it really like opened me. It was like I got bullied a lot in there. There was a lot of crappy things that happened to me, but it like shook me awake to like the state of the world and to the reality of things.
Mhm.
Obviously, it took me a little longer until my next spiritual awakening, and I met some really sketchy figures in there and made some really bad friends too. But spiritually, I think that was the lighting point. Like that really
Yeah.
set me up. And
Wow.
then after like I had went back, and had to go to treatment. After that, I really had this. I was able to be on my own away from family because I moved to Chicago. So that really was an activating time for
Oh,
me
I
as well.
bet. It's really interesting to look at it now, how spirit kind of pulled the thread that runs through it, and how you were,
Right.
you say your higher self set up these things for you to bring you,
Yeah.
even though they were like excruciating. I can't even imagine that
Right.
being in jail.
Yeah, it was an experience. I didn't know. I'd never been in jail at that point. I was
God.
22, 23, something like
Wow.
that. So, yeah. But what was I gonna
It's
say? Oh, I was reading this book. I'm reading this book right now, The Convoluted Universe, and it talks about like if you're really off the path, then the universe will cause major events like the jail, like my car accident, and every
right.
time like I really was really getting off path. Like I was focusing on being this perfect family, like, what it looks like, instead of like really focusing on spirituality. And I didn't have any spirituality. I didn't
Mhm.
have anybody to teach me those things except for Jehovah Witness. So like these big things, like especially the car accident, like I was really starting to go off bad. And even
Yeah.
though they contributed to the medicine, or not medicine, but pharmaceuticals they put me on, the
Yeah.
opiates, like still like I don't know where I would be if that car accident didn't happen. You
I
know,
I do. I do.
any experience from it. Like I literally had that near death experience. So like
Now,
that
where was that in the sequence of events, the near death experience?
Okay, so I went to jail. I went another time, a second time. So that first time I was just telling you about, I went to jail, got out, ended up relapsing like 2 months later, went back. So was in jail for a total of 7 months. Then I went to treatment for 3 months. And then I went to halfway house. And then I was in second stage. I had just graduated drug court, or not, no, I had just gotten Evan back. So everything was like working out, and I was better, I was clean.
You were pulling your shit together.
Right, I was going to college. I had already done a semester, and I had to go pick Ryan up from work, but I had relapsed. I had drank wine and I was being offered other drugs, and I was really like starting to go that way, which like if there's some essence of control with the pharmaceuticals. Like pharmaceuticals, you know what you're getting with
True.
heroin.
I mean, I'm not saying there's not a time and place for that.
Oh, absolutely. Like if your body will go into shock if you're experiencing pain. So I need it
Oh, yeah,
at that first.
no
You know what I
doubt.
mean? It was later on after I had healed and I wasn't in that excruciating pain where my mind was associating the emotional spiritual pain with physical pain and justifying my use of it. And then once they cut me off and I had to pay hundreds of dollars a month for that prescription. Like at this point, I didn't even know there was like dope sickness or withdrawal. Like I just knew I did not feel good and I needed
Yeah.
something, you know? So that's when it led to heroin.
Yeah.
And it was like a
What a
slow
setup.
progression, but yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And then I thought I was so different, but like just the past 2 years, I'm realizing how many people are
Right?
on opiates and how bad it really has gotten. Like how many people I went to high school with that are now dead from
Wow.
overdose. Like literally, like there's hundreds in
Really?
just my life. Thousands and thousands of people. It's like that used to be like, they would think of a junkie as like, the heroin addict on the corner, but no,
Like,
it's not like that anymore. It's
mhm.
like the
It's
drug,
anybody.
like pay grade, or higher. There's no hierarchy. Like it's anyone,
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of like alcohol. I mean,
Yeah,
you can be
for sure.
the executive, or you can be the drunk on the street.
Yeah,
Touch, and you can hide it and yada yada.
right. There's just people that are more functional than others, can play it off better.
Right. Right.
And I think that depends on the trauma too. Like,
Absolutely. And yeah, with the trauma that you said something really, you articulated it well, where you couldn't tell the difference between the physical and the emotional pain. And how did you sort that out? What?
that wasn't until I started doing KI.
I wanted to see if you would talk about that a little bit.
Yeah,
'Cause that-
so this was 5 years ago. I was introduced to KI, and then I started practicing it 4 years ago. And it was introduced to me like through spirit, definitely. But this girl from Lori's group saw that I had a partial degree with a treatment center, with
Mhm.
treatment, with counseling. But what is it called? It's like a tech. But the degree was social sciences. So anyway,
Okay.
she saw that and she's like, have you seen Scott Killaby's work and how it's going deeper because of like the whole 12-step program and how he feels about it? It's basically the same as how we feel. Like it doesn't go deep enough. It's just
Right.
another program. So she introduced it to me and I was like, oh yeah, I'll look into it, send me the information. And I
Mhm.
started watching it and slowly it started opening up my mind and I started like tying things together and it just made sense. And this is how I felt about the program because I had worked through the steps so many times and it wasn't getting
Right.
deep
Like
enough.
it's so deep that it just, yeah, that's happened to me too. This,
Yeah, the trauma is literally held in the subtle body. It's literally held in our cells and in our energy. So we get these blocks and then they'll manifest as disease, So like I'm going through all this pain I was in. And obviously I was in the house with the mold. So I was experiencing that stuff too.
a lot of variables.
Like, right, exactly. But like disease can't manifest if you're taking care of yourself emotionally and physically. So if you're eating well and you're not holding on to things like emotionally, then the energy can move through and your body has a chance to heal. You get your body to that 0 point where it can heal itself. But if you're in a state of stress all the time and chaos, then your body doesn't even have a chance.
Right.
So you start getting these blocks. So what I was doing was attempting to do the KI by myself because I couldn't afford to
Yeah.
pay. But Scott talked to me. Like I talked to him on the phone through
Did you?
WhatsApp. Yeah, and we had an hour conversation and he like explained the whole process and told me where to go to like for tutorials on how to do it myself. And I still wasn't getting the whole process at first. It like
It's
really
hard. It's not, it's hard to
Spirit
grasp at
sent me-
first.
Right. Spirit sent me somebody though. So like, it's like, that's what I'm saying. Like, this was so divinely guided because I ended up getting Divya. Remember, I
Mhm.
told you about
Yep, I
Divya.
talked to her. Yeah.
Yeah. So she started doing those free groups. And once I joined that, she really like, it wasn't just the work, it was like she did something, like she helped me open and like trust people, because at that point I didn't trust anybody. I was so much in the shame and the trauma, like I couldn't even face anybody and look anybody in their eyes. There was so much shame. You
Mhm.
know what I mean?
I
So
do.
she opened her heart for me and showed me unconditional love without even knowing me, but knowing this, like these horrific things, that was coming up.
Mm.
And we worked through those, and that was just the massive turning point. And then she taught me how to do it by myself. And then they would come up, things would come up during the day, and
Mhm.
I would move through them, and I would do the inquiry, which basically you're questioning everything and you're seeing your part in it. So you're going back to yourself instead of like, so if someone pisses me off on the road, like, why am I getting so pissed at this person?
Yep.
Well, it's because and I know you know this, but I just wanted to explain for
No,
everyone.
please explain it.
Like, so it's basically, why am I getting so pissed at this person? And then these things start coming up, and it's like, because I have an attachment to some kind of outcome, and that goes back into like childhood,
Like
into my
repress.
old programming. Yeah, repressed anger, any repressed emotion, and it manifests as these things that we go through, in our
Mhm.
day-to-day life, and we still repress it. So right now, Scott Killaby is like working on this anger repression, which back then he wasn't really familiar or aware of that.
Right.
But it's been like since Divya and I did that session, Divya was actually the one that really, when she was working with all these people, started to discover like there's a program in humanity to repress the anger,
Mhm.
especially the spiritual community. So like that brought that to Scott's attention. He found that within himself, even doing all the work he had done.
Yep.
So like, and it's huge because, we get in the spiritual community and everything feels great and it looks great, but then we're holding ourselves to the standard where we can't be mad. Like we can't have these feelings, oh, like push that down because, that's not spiritual enough.
Right. Right.
But
And we can even in our heads figure it out, like where it came from, but
right.
it's living in our body.
Right, exactly. So let me get back to that. So you tap into where you have pains, where the disease is, and these emotions and words will come up. And then you keep breaking those down and you stay with them. And it's basically like Lori talks about, you desensitize yourself to it. So you stay with that until it disperses. And sometimes this can take a few sessions, working on it, but you're basically, you know, getting down to like the bottom of like what it actually is, instead of like all this stuff that's on top of it that it seems like.
Right. Like I
Explain.
think you used
Okay.
the word, well, I've heard the word primary repression.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, so yeah. So, and through your talking about it with me and leading me, I mean, I did the session with Divya and I didn't go into it like you did. And I think it's like, if I get a chance, I may still, because I feel like there's just so much that happens in our lives that, I mean, so much repression, from
Yeah.
someone my age, you know, um,
Sure.
and I consider myself pretty open and free about stuff, but still seeing patterns playing out. And yeah, just not even old tapes, but just ways of being that are so
Yeah.
ingrained and are so, at this point in some ways still self-sabotaging, the sabotage that.
Well, and that is genetics too. So Dr. Gabriel Monte talks about like
Right.
how our ancestors, genes that were turned on in them from their trauma, will pass on to the next generation, the next generation. So we're not only are we dealing with our lifetime here in our soul karma, but we're dealing with like our literal body has these genetic codes in them that we play out. So that's why like their genetics are a thing. It's not like some of them are learned behaviors, but most of them are genes that are turned on from our parents' trauma or from our trauma in the womb even like if you watch the Damien and
Damien,
Lord thing,
yes.
well, he was talking about how even our mother within our grandmother's womb, we were enduring all of that. So like it starts way further back than we could even imagine. So it's
Which
like,
makes sense because some stuff is so deep, like
yeah,
like in my family, like there's a lot of like there's a lot of sexual stuff and there's a lot of eating stuff, like stuff around diet and food and that I know is like goes way back. I'm not sure where it started, but I think you told me when you have something like that keeps coming up that's really like really powerful, it probably is tied to ancestral trauma.
absolutely.
Did
Yeah.
I? Yeah. Wow. So yeah, Killer Bee Inquiries is a great tool.
Yes.
Yep.
It's changed my life. And then like not just that, but like tying it all together, like the Eckhart Tolle, Lori Ladd, like all these people and the way they explain it. And Byron Katie. Like
Byron
that
Katie.
worksheet, it takes you back to yourself. And once
Yep.
you fix yourself, everything else just works out and you can allow the other person to be, them, because they're just being themselves in their own trauma. Like it doesn't
Right.
have to affect me. Like it's my attachment to a way that I think they should be that causes all of my disruption and emotion. But if I'm okay with myself, I'm okay with them being them and I allow
Yep.
them to be them. And then I just focus on me, and my own stuff. And that concept, like, wow,
Right.
like
It's so
like
hard though.
yeah, it is at first. It is really hard. But
I
like
find it challenging. Well,
yeah,
partly because I taking that level of personal responsibility, with the stuff that I've created in my life, it's like,
right.
oh, to turn it back inward, is, it's like there's a lot of times when I'm just not gonna for a while. I'm gonna continue to, in my head, cycle out that blame and create that story
Right.
and like write about it in my journal. And then it's always like, I have that knowing where I can't let myself just go down that road. It's going to come around to me eventually. I can sit and suck my thumb there for a while and pretend.
Well,
But
and like even me, like lately, the epiphanies I've had with myself, like with all the work that
yes,
I've done, like me moving here has been like a huge awakening process in itself to like my own hidden traumas. And I had to get out of the situation away from my other family to kind of just be with myself and be able to distinguish like,
yep,
and then
totally
I'm
cast
really
out of your comfort zone on every
right.
level.
Yeah. And then see what I'm not, to see what I really am. And then like, because there was this codependency too, like I needed to get
Sure.
out of, and it's really hard when it's right there and they're so pushy, like they just show up, out of nowhere, and I love them, like
Oh
bless their
yeah.
hearts, they're good people, but they weren't doing their part in trying to break these things, these bonds
Well,
or
the whole family is sick, I mean,
yeah,
that's like a big A. It's,
right.
it's not just the one person that shows up at the treatment center. It's like we should really be bringing our entire
Right.
posse.
Exactly. It's the whole family. And that's another thing. When I got clean, like I'm noticing all these addictive behaviors and these things like addicts do, but I'm noticing my whole family does.
Right.
I mean, like, I'm trying to like model myself after my grandmother, who's supposed to be perfect and like the model citizen, but behind closed doors, she has her own addictions. You know what I mean? And it all comes down to the emotional addiction. It's not
Right.
even the physical addiction's one manifestation, but beyond that, it's emotions that are driving the addiction. It's not even like, obviously, yeah, I was addicted to heroin, but after I got off the heroin, I was still having these issues because I needed
It was
that
the,
emotional stimulation.
yeah.
And for sure. So yeah, and I still have work to do, obviously. We all do. And
Well,
new
there's
things.
just layers,
Yeah,
it
for
feels
sure.
like. You know,
Yeah.
I think talking a little bit about your move. So you moved to Florida, and we talked about that last week, where you're in the hood, like after you've. I have to say that. Just I don't know. I hope it's not insulting in any
It's
ways
okay.
because you said it. After you've done all this work and you're like ready to like go to this new adventure in Florida, and there you are in the hood. Like, damn it. There must be more here, and you've navigated it beautifully. I know it hasn't been freaking easy though, and now you're moving. So you can talk a little bit about that miracle or that.
Yeah, how that came through.
Yeah.
And it's just so crazy. Like the house, it's by a node point, which I do grid work. And I went out there initially to do this grid work at this node and transmute some stuff and tap in to the earth field, the
Mhm.
magnetic field ley lines. And the house ended up being 20 minutes from this node point. And the energy out there is just amazing. It's a 5-bedroom house, 2.5 baths. So there's enough for me to have my recording studio office so I can actually focus. Because right now it's just the whole layout of everything. It's like confusion. So I haven't really been able to focus in and really record anything or create anything other than like us talking like this.
Right.
So that's one aspect of it. And then it's in a good neighborhood, like pretty high vibe. And it's probably because it's on that ley line
Mhm.
that's near that node. So like I feel really good about it. We're just working on getting the down payment to the house right now.
Yep.
But there's mold in this place. And even that I can find the divine connection to it. Even
Mhm.
though my kids are sick, like I'm sick. I haven't been able to sing because my voice is, messed up from this mold. Like I have a severe allergy to it anyway. I mean, anybody's allergic to mold, but
Right.
it has been affecting me and Evan the most. Like Evan's knees are swelling up.
Oh
His
boy.
knee looks like a 40-year-old woman, 60, 70-year-old. Yeah, like the fluid on it.
Oof.
And I looked it up and the mold can cause, so it looks like fibromyalgia or like rheumatoid arthritis, but he's 14. You know what I mean? A
Right.
14-year-old kid,
It's
especially
probably not that.
like he drinks green juice with me. He takes supplements and he does these things. He's doing yoga stretches in there.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
he's getting there. He's not like perfect with it yet, but he's doing great.
Hey.
So he should not have swollen knees like
Right.
that. It's like clear signs of like what this mold is doing. But like I was saying, I can even find, the divine parts in something that are that messed up. And I'm not attaching to this house because it could still fall through.
Right.
It's gonna happen with the loan. So I'm not like attaching to it, like this has to happen. I'm just trusting this time and not trying to force anything.
Yeah, I
Because
don't feel that from you. I feel like you're kind of like hands off.
yeah,
Like
I'm surrendering for
yeah.
sure. And not like I did with this place because I was attached and I kind of freaked myself out. And then Karen freaked herself out because that's a big move. And it had to happen. Like
From
this,
Illinois to Florida. From the
yeah, like
Midwest, that living there your whole life basically
yeah,
to completely different part of the country.
right.
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah. And yeah, like you said, like I had lived there my entire life. I've been other places, but my main grid work was done in that area, which I'm finding out recently. I don't know if I told you, but that's a pretty charged area.
Where you were?
Yeah, by the Great Lakes,
Yes, you did tell me about that. And yeah,
because it's all
that's
on rock. It's stone, Rockford,
right.
Rock,
Rockford.
and the Black Hawk Indians were there. There was a lot of war, and it was like more recent stuff. We're talking about early 1900s. And then also I wanted to mention these teachings, like the Sweat Lodge, all those things, they were illegal up until 1969. It was
Really?
illegal to practice that, yeah. So it's only been since 1969 that we were actually able to do this legally, do these sweat lodges and
Huh.
praying, knowing the native language. Because when the Christian church came here, that was they were worshiping other deities. So the children were taken, the women were taken, they were forced into these camps and these forget what they call it, but basically they were like Catholic Christian group homes where they were supposed to be integrated into the Christian Western culture. And like just so like this is the lineage, the ancestral trauma that like is in my blood, my
Mm,
DNA, you know what I mean?
mhm.
And not just like me as the native, but then we have um the other parts, which there's like Scandinavian, Swedish, Scottish, and Irish, especially with the Scottish and Irish. Like
I have
it's
a
like,
lot of Scottish.
yeah, well, it makes sense. And the ancestral trauma from that, because this isn't just the white man, like you hear like in these native communities, they talk about the white man. It's not just the white man, because it happened to white people. It was the controllers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was the system. But with the small amount of knowledge they had at that point in time, they considered the white man. But in the native teachings, the white man is the keeper of the fire. That's the element that the white race
Fire.
is fire, yeah. And it makes sense with all the war and
Yeah.
stuff
A lot
and
of,
how they've been using, because fire can be good or it
right.
can be used for bad. Like you can burn something down with fire, or you can use fire to cook or to burn the sage and clear, you know.
To
So it's
clear.
just what we're doing with the elements. And at one point with the Gaelic, Celtic, the white man was using it with shamanism for good. They were using the fire for good, but it got kind of infiltrated, and that
Huh.
it's so they were like infiltrated even.
Yeah,
So
I
it's not
believe
the
that.
white
It's not
man, it's
one
like,
bad white man. The
right.
white
So
man.
yeah. And that's another part of division, and how in the native community things have been divided. Because like you'll see, like if once you get into the native community, you realize these are just people and they have their own traumas. Like they know these teachings, my elders
For
know these
sure.
teachings, but they have their own traumas. You know what I mean? They have their own ego. Like one of the elders called me to give me a teaching we were doing the other day, and he's got a TV on in the background. So I'm just like, the teaching is being like, you
Uh,
know,
just kind of, I don't know, I want to say
it's
muted
being,
or
yeah, and I mean,
staticky.
it's like it was still a good teaching, but it's like I could feel this other energy coming in, where like before we had talked and I had gotten a teaching and the TV wasn't on. So like it's just little things like that I'm noticing.
Sure.
And also how the guru thing is dead. Like we don't
Yes, I
need
was,
more. You know what I mean? And how we're all teaching each other. So I'm accepting these teachings from this elder, but at the same time I'm teaching this elder things too. And at his age, because he's like 70 something years old.
mhm.
So like at his age, he can be kind of closed-minded. So like I'm kind of opening his heart and his mind to these other things. Like it doesn't have to be perfect. You know what I mean? It
What
doesn't
a
have to
gift.
be one way. You know what I mean? You can be more eclectic with it. And like really it's like there's so much synchronicity around it. I know it's supposed to be. So I'm just letting it flow.
Oh, absolutely.
It's beautiful, like how we all help each other, if we're open to it. We have
Yeah.
to get out of the way anyway.
I feel like spirit guides come through other people. In fact, I did a really funny clip on a podcast with that. Yeah, back when about anger, someone directly, they didn't confront me, but they kind of gave me a little bit of a joke about it. Like, Jill, your spirit guides are trying to tell you have a little bit too much anger, like, like they can't get through to you. But someone else told me that, and the way they said it was so like loving and funny that I was like, wow. And it came to me like, yeah, Cameron Manuti, she's a great teacher out there. She's a podcaster, but yeah, it came to me in a neat little package, and like I never felt any anger, or like that's a hard thing to tell somebody, that maybe they need to face their anger. Well,
Right,
especially as a kind of a friend. But yeah, I
right,
hear you. And what you were saying about him having the TV on, and like in the past, I think before we, there was the awareness and remembrance that there's no guru. You might have that would have been really confusing, because you probably would have thought, well, he's, even though he's got the TV on, that must be okay in some way, and trying to,
right,
get your head around that, the fact that no, it's really not.
right,
I mean,
for sure,
so it's like a huge jump in consciousness that I think a lot of people have made,
for sure.
if they, yeah.
That happened another time, like there was this place, it was called Cleo's. It was this Wiccan shop, pagan shop,
Hmm.
and there was apothecary there, and I would get my crystals and different things that I needed from there. And that's actually where I was attuned for Reiki 1 and 2.
Oh, cool.
Was like there, but I remember on one of the Reiki shares, she was there that night, and she was in her 70s. But this is how ingrained in um that era that this is, like that, I use that word right, era, like that age group
Yep.
and
Generation.
generation. Well, she had the TV going in the back, like during the Reiki share, and I'm just like, you are messing with the energy over here. You know what I mean? So
For
like
sure.
that was the last time I went to any Reiki share there, because there was something really off.
Well,
Really,
it's like saying you're not important enough for us to give you all of our attention. We can keep
right,
this track on going back here and do
right.
this up here, and like, yeah, it's devaluing.
It's like, and you think about it like black mirrors. If you look into what a black mirror is and how the television or any electronic device, it's a portal, and it's opening to these darker spirits that are able to come through electricity, through the electrical wires, through this
Wow,
portal
yeah.
that weren't able to come through before. But this is a means for them to come through now. So it's got to be very intentional in the energy around it. Like, but it was something like, obviously if she had the TV going and it was playing some kind of meditation music or something, that's one thing. But the
Right.
TV going and it was playing some movie that you
Like
could
The
hear.
Simpsons or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it's like the intention and energy wasn't right around it. So it's just like these older things like that, or these things like that with these older people who are still stuck in these programs, still in the matrix
Hmm.
system,
Hmm.
but they know these like really amazing things still, and there's still teachings there, but
It's still
they don't
beautiful, but yeah,
do. But then they get in their spiritual ego, like I know this, I am the elder,
exactly.
or so like I feel like I'm here to kind of break that, because I do feel with these people like I'm very intimidating to them because I am so young, but it's
Hmm.
like the light that I hold like kind of reflects that to them. And it's not even anything that I'm really doing. I'm just there being myself, but it's very intimidating because it reflects their stuff they haven't dealt with. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and I'm sure some
Like,
can't handle it.
right. Yeah. Well, and we had a falling out, me and this elder.
Did you? Not
Yeah.
surprising.
And some of it was my own trauma that was being reflected to me, but a lot of it was the ego in
Hmm.
this person. And I've seen a lot of growth though, and they seem a little more open, because I'm
Beautiful.
not gonna, like, I don't need a guru, you know?
Right, right. F off. No, well, don't, with respect.
Right. And I still respect him as like an elder because he's still an elder to me, but like
Right.
I'm not do the whole ego thing where I have to silence myself or dim my light because it's intimidating you. You know what I mean?
I
But
do. In fact, I have to drop this, and I know we're getting towards the end, but it reminds me of like the relation. One of my biggest frustrations with the medical system is like as a parent that has, been involved as an intense caregiver over the years, the lack of respect from a lot of doctors. It's like they have to hold on to this whole thing that they know more. And I'm not saying all of them. And then, the parents are just kind of looked as like a bunch of silly mm, cotton mouth ninny muggins or something,
yeah,
just complete, like you have, and it's so devaluing but yet parents are so subjected to it because these doctors are like pulling the strings. They're saying, even though there's always other ways, they're saving the lives of their children, and it's just so they're so powerful, and it's so perverse to me that we don't all have equal seats at the table.
right.
And I think that there is much more awareness with that now, but I still feel it a lot, and it's that thing where you want to give them respect for the fact that they do know certain things, but also you do too, and what you have to say within and what you're watching and witnessing and the energetics that you're living in are equally as important and valuable. So
I've been fortunate enough to have doctors that actually respected me. And I think seeing like what I've gone through, especially my last doctor, Dr. Barris, he was a addiction specialist. Seeing like where I was at, knowing Jake, like he had a lot of respect for me. He
oh,
had,
that's so
he had
good.
a son that died from an overdose.
That's
So
what
he
it takes.
exactly. Yep. So it really
Those
troubled him, and he was awake to the pharmaceutical industry. He
wow,
wouldn't allow them. Yeah, he wouldn't
that's
allow
no
them.
accident.
Right. Exactly. And this was before I even knew about pharmaceuticals and all that stuff. I started going to him, and he really awakened me to a lot as a doctor. But he retired when the COVID stuff happened. So I have an
Oh,
idea of like how he feels about this whole thing.
yeah,
You know,
I bet. Oh, lucky he did.
right. For
I
sure.
I feel so much compassion for, the way that we've set people up to really twist themselves, have to basically twist themselves to
Yeah.
survive in this. Wow. It's 4:44.
Oh, is it? Okay. Well, you
Not
want
that it,
to wrap it up?
yeah, I think we should wrap it up. Yeah, just taking
I
a
think we
minute.
covered it all anyway.
We covered it all and then some. Yeah, it was a good convo. And yeah, we are
Yeah.
going to have a guest. We're still playing with that, and as well as the music. So,
Yeah. I'm hoping once I get into this new place, I'll
right.
have a better setup. Because right now it's just so hard to do in this little corner.
I totally hear you. In fact, I finally got
Oh, I lost you.
my back.
There you go. Yeah, you must
I canceled it.
That's awesome though. You could just do that.
I know, I didn't realize that. And I had them before when I was podcasting, but I've been like, broke. And so I finally just was like, I got to have them.
Right.
So moving on, we're going to have this. Yeah, and getting a glimpse into what you're dealing with in terms of energetically where you're living now, not being really able to access the music in the way that you have. It's had to be really challenging. So this is our journey here that you all are witnessing as we both evolve and
Yeah.
share with you the process.
Yeah. Completely like open. I'm like not hiding anything because it's gonna help other people, seeing my process and
Yes.
me
Yes,
pretending
like you're
to
really
be okay doesn't
frustrating.
help anyone,
Exactly.
Which I mean,
Exactly.
I am okay, but you get what I mean by that.
Oh yeah. 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 We can be okay, but still not okay in lots of ways, but we know
Right.
we're
Yeah.
okay.
Exactly.
I'm okay with not being okay. That's a song.
Right. Yeah. The Naco Bear. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that one. All right. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this episode, and thanks, Gabby.
Yes, thank you, Jill. Thank you, everybody, for
It's
watching.
Todd, Soulogy. And I gotta log us out. See you next week.